Okay, good evening, people. So I actually received a few requests regarding the Wrap3 program that I've been using. So today I thought I'll do a quick little tutorial to show you how to get the settings up and all that. Yeah, so because some people told me that the settings that I'm using is relatively confusing because of all the notes. So I thought I will just do a quick tutorial to show you guys how I actually go about it, right? So first thing first, I will not be explaining every single note because to be honest, I do not know uh, the function of all the nodes. I just learn what I need and what I can use, and then I use them. So don't expect a breakdown of what every node does, right? Okay, so first thing first, before we start on the walkthrough, right, we need to prep our model to be able to be used. So in this case, today I will be using the Hitomi, the Dead or Alive Hitomi model because that is the free model that I'm actually supposed to do this month. I actually hadn't had the chance to do that yet. So that's what I'll be doing today since I'm doing this tutorial anyway. So let me load up the model. Okay, so Hitomi model. So in this particular case, I actually have this DOA 6 model, which as you can see has an extreme amount of bones. So don't worry, I'll basically just be using the face. I'm not planning to convert this clothing. I am planning to convert her default clothing, the karate gi clothing, right? So I'm just using the face for this one. The hair, I will also be using her DOA 5 hair because the DOA 6 basically only has this one, and if I'm not wrong, it's not her default hair. This is not the hair that Hitomi is actually well known for. So if I so it will actually either be this long hair or the ponytail hair if I'm not mistaken. So that will be the hair that I'm actually going for. Right, this is the uniform that I'm planning to convert, just to let you know. So far nobody has converted the DOA 6 version, so I'll be using a DOA 5 version for this conversion, for this free model. Okay, so first thing first, as mentioned, we will want to prep the model. So I will only need the head, the face. So this is what I'll be doing. In this case, I'm just preparing the face. So join and remove vertices. So now I have one model, and also calculate with normal. Okay, so the rest I can basically delete. I actually don't even need the amateur. So next, right, what you want is the head to fit roughly onto the Dust 3D head. Roughly, you don't need it to be exact, but it does have to be relatively you does have to have some point of in common. So for me, I like to put the upper lips. So grab and the upper lips. The reason for the upper lips, right, is because after you completed this conversion process, you will basically need to move all the other parts that is not being moved in this conversion. So in this case will be things like the eyeball, the mouth, the teeth, and all that. So it's easier to move the eyeballs than it is to move the teeth, believe me. Yeah, so because of this, I am just fitting this model roughly to where the upper lips, the position of the upper lips is. So roughly around something like that. So the upper lips and the nose roughly around here. The rest, you'll actually fit them into the model, so you don't really need to bother. Okay, so this is the prep model. Okay, so DOA actually has some very high quality models, so you don't really need to worry so much about missing bits and pieces and whatnot. But if you have some lower end model, like for example some mobile game model, then you might need to clean up the model a little bit. Like for example eyelashes, eyebrows, things like that. If they are sticking out, as in they are not connected to the main head, you might need to delete them away. So in this case, I don't need to do much because the head is basically already done. Okay, so I just need to export this to a location. In my case, I have this Wrap3 stuff folder, which I throw all my conversion heads model into. Okay, so in my case, I have a scale of 100. The reason for that is because if you have the scale too small, Warp 3D will actually be unable to do its work because the scale is too small. So I tend to make it bigger so that they actually have space to work. Okay, so now I'll be going through some of the functions that Warp3 is I use them. So first, if you right click here at this panel, you can actually load in the nodes. This is the 3D viewing port. You can scroll the mouse wheel in and out to zoom in and out, hold alternate and the center mouse button in order to move things around, and left click in order to rotate, and right click in order to zoom in and out, though you can also use the mouse wheel as well. Okay, so for this particular part, it's the same thing. You can use the control, the alternate right click to drag things around once you have some things inside here. So first thing you need, right, is go to load. You need to load two items: load the image, which is the texture, and load geometry, which is this one. Okay, so you load the image of in this case you want to load two items. One is your donation model, and the other one is the model that you're going to walk towards. So in our case, this particular part down here, I'm going to put in the Dust 3D model. So I actually have a shortcut already because I do this so much. So you just need the Dust 3D face, or you can just leave, you can put any texture you want. This one basically is just to show like the texture. Okay, then you want to load in the model of the Genesis 8. In my case, it's Genesis 8. So what I did, right, is basically I load in Genesis 8, then I save. I'll just show you. Okay, so that's Studio. Okay, then what you do is you load in the Genesis 8 basic figure, right? This step is quite important. So because if you don't, then you'll not be able to reload your morph into this. So what you want to do is first get rid of the eyelashes. Okay, so just one model alone. Next is to go to this parameters. Okay, and the mesh resolution. High resolution here, you change it to base. Okay, so this will change it to the lowest, the default mesh density. Okay, then you want to save, export the model to wherever. In my case, I have it on Dust 3D. Okay, and one of the OBJ. Okay, and then same thing. You want the scale to be 100. Okay, in my case, because I need this to be to import things, so I have it at 1%. But if you export it to 100%, then when you do the walkthrough, you can load in the bigger setting. And this is the reason why in the Blender I put it at 100%. As to say, I export this OBJ at 100%. Okay, because here is 100%. So you load in the model for Wrap3 and Genesis 8 female. Okay, so this is the Genesis 8 female model. Okay, then you just drag this and connect, and you will see the texture appearing. Okay, so this is the Genesis 3 model. Then you just copy this, and here you want to put in the model that you will be warping into. In this case, the Hitomi model. So DOA and Hitomi texture. So I believe it's this one. Okay, so just copy and paste here and put in the face. In this model, you put in the Hitomi's face. Sorry, the Hitomi head model that you actually exported just now. Okay, so now you have the Hitomi head model here. If you click on this light bulb, you can actually turn it on and off. So you can see the Hitomi model with the textures applied. Okay, so this is the basics of how to get a model into the program in the first place. Okay, next, you want to make sure that only the parts that you want it to appear, because you cannot delete or modify this mesh in any way, otherwise you will not be able to re-import it as a morph back into Dash 3D. Luckily, Wrap3 already has a way to do that. So there's under geometry, you can go to subset. Okay, so subset will actually basically cut out the model that to be affected. So only the part that you specify will be affected. Okay, so first you want to put in a subset here, then you put in the output geometry to this node down here. It's mostly all color coded so that you know which one to put in. So in this case, you have a polygon selection. You want to put in a polygon selection here. So selection, polygon. Okay, so same thing. You put down here, and you can select the polygons that you want. So if you do it correctly, you actually have all the polygroups and material that you can use to quickly select the item faster. Okay, so you have all the polygroups down here and the material. So for example, if I put in the face, I have all the face here. If you press F right, they will actually zoom in and centralize your selection to the item that you selected. So what we want basically is the face, the lips, okay, the head, the back of the head actually. So the head. Okay, then if you go inside there, you will see that the mouth is not selected, but the teeth is. So we will want to remove that. Materials, mouth, and materials, teeth. Okay, so the only thing that you should see is the head. So if you connect this one down here and you go to the viewport, this is the only thing that you should see, basically the head. Actually, we also put in the neck. So neck and upper neck upper. Okay, so this basically you have a head that you can warp over. Okay, so I'm sorry, something went wrong. I need to remove the teeth and the mouth. I think I selected the head just now. Okay, so the eyeball and all that will not be selected. Okay, so this is just a selection of the head, which you can see down here. So this is what we will be using to warp into the new face, which is this. Okay, so next, what we want to do is to combine what do you call that? Do the warping itself. So you have this. I'm sorry. Why do I keep saying warping? It's wrapping. Okay, so you have this wrapping function where you put in the geometry. Okay, I am not sure if it's this one or this one, so I'll just put it in and then we'll see what happens. I'm sorry. Okay, so we have this. I'm sorry, no, not yet. You need to have something else. That is to say, this. You know, wait, correct. So, no, no, no. Yes, there's a selection part. Select point pair. Yes, we need to settle this one first. Okay, so what happens is that this, okay, if you go here and you go to the visual editor, you will have this pair down here. So what happens, right, you want to sync view so you can move the two both together. Okay, so what happens, right, is that this is the place where you actually line the two model up. So for example, the eyes, you want them to fit in properly, so you put in my case, I usually do the corner of the eyes here and here. Okay, 0 and 1. And then correspondingly here, you put in the eyes, okay, roughly, and do the same on the other side. So 1, eyes, eyes. Okay, then the tip of the nose, you don't need to be like very exact, as close as possible, but you don't need to be like pinpoint exact. Okay, so roughly the point will do. So something like that, something like that. And then the base of the nose, I'm not very sure if all these points are required, but no, it doesn't do any harm, so might as well, right? So the corner of the mouth, top of the mouth, corner again, and bottom. Same thing here, 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 and here. Okay, and it is also useful if you put the two tip of the lips sometimes. So here and here. Okay, so something like that, the tip of the chin and the ears. So sometimes if you find the model like it is too low resolution, you will not be able to do anything with the ears. If that's the case, then just ignore it. You can fix that in Blender. Okay, so oops, something is wrong. Where is my 15? Oh, here. Oops. Okay, so make sure the number tally, because they are using this to find the points where they match. So if you don't make sure that it tallies, you know, like for example, if just now I left that alone, right, you will find the 15 here will drag all the way here, because 15 was at the lips. Excuse me. So 15 was at the lips just now, so the model, when you wrap it, right, it will actually drag its way all the way there. So that is not what we want. So make sure that the numbers correspond to the location on the model, relatively so. Okay, so something like that. 19, 20, roughly will do. You don't really need to be very exact, as I mentioned. Okay, so this is a very basic on the face. It works almost the same with any other model that you want to alter the shape. So for example, if you have a body, you find some points like the chest, the navel, and the fingers, and you do the same thing, right? So exactly the same. Okay, so now I will just connect this point here, and you will see the points down here will be wrapping. Okay, then there's this red color part down here, and this one basically tells the program what not to include inside this wrapping program. So if you notice, right, if you notice, this is the model itself. For example, you will notice that the nostril isn't very deep, so you have a fairly flat. For example, this is the inside of the nose, so your nostril is actually fairly flat, and the ears is nothing protruding down here. But if you look at the Genesis figure, you have this part down here, which is the inner part of the ear, which is this hole down here, your inner ear, and also the nostrils, right? So you don't want that to be showing. So what you can do, right, is you put in another select polygon here. Okay, go to the main polygon here and select the parts that you do not want to appear. So in this case, for example, I put in the nostril. I do not want the nostril to appear. Okay, so and the ear hole, so it's this one, and go. Okay, so these will be the parts that will not move. They will be moved along relative to the surrounding polygons, but they will not change to fit the mesh. Okay, so you put this here, and now you are ready to do the actual wrapping. So if you just press the compute button, then you let the program run, and it will actually attempt to wrap the base model as far as possible into your donation model, so to speak. Okay, so you will see that the neck is being warped quite badly. Okay, don't really need to worry about that. The reason for that is because you don't have anything to cling towards. That's why it's being put into the model that does exist, which is here. But we will fix this, no worries. Okay, so when this part is done, next what you want to do is to apply the subset that you deleted off. Okay, so you put in an apply subset here, and then you put in your output geometry and your base geometry, and oops, sorry, this geometry. Did I do something wrong, or was it the other way around? Output. Is it here and here? No. Oh dear, I cannot remember. Give me a moment. Let me go back and see my previous stuff. Oh right, there's the select subset. Right. Okay, so you have this, and then the selected polygons that is removed. So here, selected polygon and selected polygon. Or was it this one? And there we go. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's been a while since I actually do this manually. Okay, so what happens, right, is that this is the, you apply the subset. So you have, this is the geometry, the full geometry, which is your base geometry, and then you have the warped version of the geometry, and then the selected model, which is the polygons that you have taken out. So this will be reapplied back here. Okay, so now you have the full body again, which you see the neck is very weird. Okay, the rest is actually fairly okay. Usually you'll find the eyes are popping out or whatever because of the way that the mesh is moved, right? So those you have to fix in Blender. You actually still need to fix it because the eyes are not actually aligned properly, and sometimes the teeth and the mouth will be popping in and out, right? So these are things that you can fix in Blender. This one here you can actually fix in this program. So what we do, right, is that we put in a geometry and replace model. Okay, and then we go for the full model again, and geometry, and then we put in another selection, select polygon here, and with this, right, you will select the neck. So both neck and neck upper. Okay, and then you combine, let it run, and there. So what this does, right, is that it actually replaces this model. Okay, it replaces the parts that is selected in this selection polygon into the final model. So in this case, we actually replace the neck from the warp version to the original version. So now we have a fairly regular neck. Okay, you might need to do some things with the neck. If you find that, for example, the model, you have a very thin neck or something like that, you will need to do the adjustment. But those you can adjust either in Dust Studio itself or in Blender if required. right? So we are basically done with the model itself. Okay, so what is next, right, is to save the model. So in this case, we do a model save geometry. Okay, and this is the final model that you'll be saving. So this is the model that you'll be saving down here, and save geometry, and you click down here to go to output section. In my case, I have it in my Wrap3 stuff output, and I can save it here. So Hitomi head, okay, and save. So I save the geometry out, okay, but it will not actually save yet until you click on this compute current frame. After you click that, then the model is saved. Okay, so if you go to the Wrap3, and Hitomi head is here. Okay, so if I delete off this one, actually let me delete off all this. These are some of my old projects that I don't I'm done with already. Okay, so if I do not press this, right, no matter what you do, the Hitomi model will not appear. Only after I press the current compute current frame that the Hitomi OBJ is selected here. Okay, so now we are done with the model itself. Next is the texture. Okay, so in this case, you want to have an image, transfer image. Okay, then you need to have this the warp texture and this texture here, and go to the viewport. And because Dust3D is actually having a 409669 4096, if I'm not wrong, let me see. Yeah, 4069. So I am a little bit mistaken. Okay, so this will actually transfer this texture, right, to this texture. They will actually do a transfer. So now you have the face texture more or less correct in Dust3D format. Okay, then because of all these empty spaces, what you want to do next is to do a image expolate image. And what this does is that it will actually fill in all the empty spaces with a color that is closest to it. Okay, so this will make it so that it doesn't look so bad, right? And you don't have any weird gaps when you apply the texture to the model itself. Okay, so same thing, you want to save the image. Okay, save the image. So in this case, you want to put it to PNG. Normally I save it to PNG, and Wrap3 output texture, and Hitomi head D for the base color. I can't remember what's the D for already. Okay, so Hitomi hit D and accept, and then same thing, you need to compute current frame. Okay, after you press that, then the texture will appear. Okay, so this is the Hitomi head. Next, you want to have I'm sorry, excuse me. Next, you want to save the neck. Okay, because a lot of the models, the neck texture is actually here on the head texture. It's different from Dust3D. So you can also use the neck texture to convert the body texture. So I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So next, you want to copy out this entire thing. Okay, and then do the same thing here and here. Okay, then when you go to the transfer texture, in the U and V, right, put 1. So what this does, right, is that it actually maps the texture here to the body. So most of the parts is empty because the body isn't available in this model, right? But with this, we can actually use this to paste it onto the body texture in Dust3D and make the color correct. So correct the colors from here. Okay, so same thing, you export here, and then you save this. This is neck. Okay, neck D, and compute. Then you also want a version that doesn't have this export data, export the image. Okay, so this neck 2D. Okay, I'll show you the reason for that. It's just to make things easier. You don't actually need to have it, but it makes things a lot easier later on. So now we have the head, we have the neck, and we have the neck with transparency and the neck without transparency. The final one is the normal map. Okay, so what I normally do, or what I have in my default, is that I have this one down here which I can use to put in the normal map of the face, and then the body, right? And I also have this entire setup here. Okay, and then I put in the warping part so that it will actually transfer the normal map into the head. So in this case, I actually need to do some adjustment because wrong one. Okay, so what this does is that it will actually put in the model into the face and then export the data. So now you have a normal map of the actual model, actual model normal map onto the Dust 3D version, right? So this one is a normal map, so it's an N and the head. So compute current frame. Okay, so with this we have basically all that we need to do the entire body and the face. Okay, so next part will be to actually import the model. So import obj. Very important. If you do that in Blender, I do not know if Max 3D and all that has a similar function, but you need to keep vert order. This is very important because if you don't do that, you will get a ghastly mess in Dust 3D if you convert it over after that. Okay, so first you put in the model. Okay, so the model will be at 100%, so it's very big. So what you do is that you scale it down to 0.01. Okay, so now it's at the same size, and then you do a shade smooth. Okay, so it's just to make the thing prettier. And compare. So this is the actual face, and you'll see that the model is basically warped or fixed into the actual face itself. So you can see from here. Okay, so this is the actual face, this is the warp version. More or less it fits. Okay, so after that, what you want to do, right, will be to move the things around and make sure that everything is properly fixed. So in this case, there really isn't much. It's more or less pretty done already. But if you do things like you take from other models, they have really weird geometry, and you have like eyes sticking out over the place, you'll need to move them back in again. Okay, so this is where you fix things, and also put in a subdivision. Okay, because by default Dust Studio has a subdivision already, which is the high resolution that you see down here. By default it already has that. So in order to mimic it, so you put in a sub D, then you see that the mouth basically opens up a little bit. Okay, so the mouth opens up a little bit. So what you need to do if you don't want your model, because in Dust Studio the mouth isn't open, so just to save problem, you can leave it like that. It's not really an issue, but just to save any issue and any problems, you can actually do the adjustment here. So just close the mouth a little bit. Something like that, and make sure that the eyes is centered. Okay, so select all, and you can put a mirror here, and when you move this eye, the other eye will move also. Okay, so just adjust it a little bit. Okay, so this is the Hitomi's head completed. So I'll just save this export obj and put it into my export folder. Hitomi head morph. Okay, and the scale is 1 because of the way I set up my import. Oh yeah, before I forget, when you export, you need to make sure that the viewport is 0, or you remove this entire modifier altogether. Otherwise, the morph import will fail because the geometry is changed. Okay, so sorry about that. Let me just resave this. Okay, then now you come back here, and let me just reopen the entire thing to make sure that I have a fresh copy. Okay, so now I have this down here. So for loading morph, right, you want to press this button here, the Morph Loader Pro, or it should be the edit object and Morph Loader Pro here. Okay, so select your Genesis and Morph Loader Pro, then choose Morph Files and select the Hitomi model that you just exported just now. So DOA and Hitomi head. Okay, so these are the settings that I have, 100% and reverse deformation and override existing delta only. Okay, so normally, if I'm not wrong, the default is make unique and this one is no, right? So I have this set up as a preset, and this is the one that I use to load in the model. This is the reason why I have the settings as that I have, right? So with this, every single time I load in a morph, it will work. I do not need to change the scale too much. This is how I have it set up. You can experiment a bit and find the best way for your own workflow. So this is just how I do it now. Okay, so click accept and the morph will be loaded. Okay, so if you go to the morph, you have the Hitomi head morph down here, and when you dial it in, and you have the Hitomi head model dial in like that. Okay, so this is how it looks like, Hitomi head model with normal dust 3D texture. Okay, so next thing what you want to do is to replace the textures. So you go to Genesis here. Okay, template 1 is the head, is the face. If you look down here, you can see the face, the ears, the eyes, and the eye socket, and the lips. Okay, template 2 is basically just the torso. Template 3 is the legs and the toenails. Template 4 is your arms and fingernails. So these are the 4 that we will need to change. Okay, so you just come down here, base color, and load in the model that you have. In my case will be DOA Hitomi, and I don't have it here. I'm so sorry. Textures. I need to transfer the textures over first. Just give me a moment. Okay, so we have the textures, and I like to put them into separate folders. So in this case, the skin. Okay, the head and the normal maps, I'll just copy it straight. These two I'll be using for the body. Okay, so let me open up GIMP. This is the image tools that I use. So if you have Photoshop, you can use that, but I do not have Photoshop. I have no idea how to use it. So my tutorial will basically be for GIMP. So sorry about that. Okay, so first you want to open up the model, the texture that you're using, that you'll be using. In this case will be the female uh, texture model for Dust 3D, but I won't be using the base female model because this is a DOA model, so I'll be using the ICO 8, which is a more anime style kind of model, right? So you take the hand model, the leg model, and the torso model, right? Then you will also want the head, this head model, because you need to do some cleanup on it. Okay, so you have these spots down here that you need to clean up a little bit. Okay, so what I have is this healing tool that you can actually use this healing tool to blend out all the parts so that it makes it smoother. Doesn't make it look so bad, so to speak. Okay, so this part is a more tedious one. You just basically need to slowly blend all the textures together, right? Okay, so something like that. And the nostril. Honestly, the nostril is not really that important because most of the time you'll actually be in the shadows. You can't really see it unless you specifically aim your camera in such a way that you'll be looking up at it. But might as well clean it up. Then lastly, sorry, this is the eyes part. Normally you won't see it also, but just in case, just to clean it up a little bit. Most of the time you won't see the eyes section here. So unless there's a really big flaw, you don't really need to worry so much about this part here. Okay, the one that you need to deal with is the ears. Yeah. So usually there's a part down here and somewhere here. But in this case, I'm fairly lucky. There isn't really much to clean up, so just a little bit here. And yep, that roughly that will do it. So let me save this, overwrite this, overwrite the head. Okay, so next we need to deal with the torso because the color is different. So if you straight up convert this over, it will look quite horrible. So this is the reason why we have these two neck models. So I'm just gonna put them in as layers, right? So now we have this part, which is the neck area. Okay, the reason why I'm doing it this way, right, is so that there won't be any visible seams. Okay, so if you just put in the neck like that, you overlay it like that, and you export this out, there will be a visible seam on the head. So because of this, right, I found out that this particular method works better. So you need to find a color selection tool, okay, and then you select the empty space, then selection, shrink your selection by 20 pixels. Okay, so now you have a little bit of a gap down here. You get rid of this and open this part. Okay, then you delete here. Okay, so what you basically did, right, is that you have a little bit of extra buffer space around your selection, right? So when you paste it over, the selection won't be so blatant. So there won't be such a visible seam because you have overlap. Okay, so in this particular case, there's this black color part, which I think I am not really sure what all this black color part is. Normally in the neck you won't see this, but in this case it's there, so we need to remove it. Okay, so just need this to be bigger, and I will delete this. and here as well. Okay, most of the time, most other models they don't have this problem, so you can just go into the next step. But for this particular model, you just need to do a bit of cleanup. Okay, so that's that. Next, right, what you need to do is to change this color, which is your ICO 8 texture, to this color. So what we do is we match color. Before that, let me get rid of the white color background. Delete. Add alpha channel. Delete. So we have a clear background, and then do a color selection on this and background. Okay, so this will help later when you try to blend in all the colors. Okay, so now make sure that the torso texture is selected. Okay, hold control and drag down, and inside this sample point you should see the two color sample point. So what you're trying to do is to match the RGB values from these values here to these values here. Okay, so we do that by going into the color curves. Okay, and then hold control, click here, and you will see this point. This point corresponds to this point here. Okay, so what you want to do is to do a red and then match the number. So in this case, something like this. So now we have an output of 190 here, but down here is 186, 186, red color 186, 186. Okay, so these two match. Move on to the no, reset. I'm sorry. So 186, 186. Move on to the green color, and you need to reduce that by quite a bit, 30 something. Okay, so 128, 128, and then the blue color, you get the point. So 17. So now we have something that is fairly close together. Okay, fairly relatively close. Or if you want, you can do another sampling, because I think this might be a little bit too red, to be honest. Yeah, so let's do that again. Curve, red value, and blue. Okay, so something like that. Okay, next, merge visible layers. So now we have all in one layer. You can go to the healing tools and start merging them all together. Okay, so we do this and start blending the two colors together. Okay, so we just do that for all 3 points, the neck and the two the back part of the neck here. Okay, so this is the reason why we do the background, so that when it spills over, it doesn't pull the gradient of the color down too much. Okay, so something like that. And this is the torso done. So you export torso. And then this is the legs. So if you go to filter, you can actually repeat the curve and then just export. You have no idea how long it took me to learn this little trick. Previously I was doing all manually over and over again. Okay, so the arms as well, and export. Okay, make sure you don't overwrite the original texture, otherwise you have to redo the entire thing again. Okay, so just wait for everything to export. And in the meantime, come down here, skin, and we can paste in the face. Okay, so this is the template, the torso. This is the legs, and this is the arms. Okay, next, translucent weight I'll put to 0. The reason for that is because if you don't put the translucent weight right, if you maintain a translucent weight and you go to iRay, which is your rendering, you'll notice that she is very dark. Okay, so the reason for that, right, is because of this translucent weight setting. So if you leave it out, then this is the default setting, the setting that the texture itself gives you, which is a more accurate setting. Okay, next, for this kind of models, normally I will actually remove template 7. Template 7 is the corona and the eye moisture, which is what makes the eyes look shiny down here. But because this is the game model doesn't, we don't really have that, and otherwise you have some weird reflection all the time. So normally I just cut it out directly. So this is the eyes itself. Okay, so template 6 is the eyes. So in this case, there is do we have a texture for the eye? Yes, we have the textures for the eye. Okay, and it is also fairly big, 512. Okay, so we can use this. So what we do, right, is this template here, browse to the template and edit with GIMP. Okay, so this is the eyes, and this is the reason why I have if you go to the Wrap3D, I have an IUV texture here. This I took out the IUV texture in Blender, save the IUV texture so that I can use it here to make sure that the eyes is covered up. Otherwise you have some kind of weird white color line at the edge, because you do not know where exactly is the eye. Because if you notice, the ending of the socket, the ending of the eye color here is actually a little bit behind the actual ending. Okay, so this will be useful. Okay, next what I'll do is I will throw in my this eyeball. Okay, and then I will cut out the eyeball, so somewhere around here, 270 and 270. Adjust it a little bit. Okay, Control I to invert your selection and delete. So now you have just the eyeball. Okay, so now you move it here and Shift T, Shift T, and you can make it bigger, holding down Control so that you can move it around. Okay, and make sure that you cover the eyeball. Okay, so something like that. Then you take the eyeball and duplicate layer, and move it to the other eyeball. Okay, then hide your IUV and save this out. Export as Hitomi eyes. Save. Okay, so you can put in the eyes here. DOA, Hitomi texture, skin, and eyes. Okay, so now you have Hitomi eye color as well, and Hitomi eye. And there we have it, the head converted properly. Okay, so normally what I'll do is I will also remove the gloss color, that's the shiny part, because otherwise sometimes it will just looks like she's made of plastic or something. So it's actually quite scary, quite bad. Okay, so I will end the tutorial here. This is basically how the basics of how you transfer face over. You can use this exact same method to transfer the body over, and the body of the texture over, and the anything that you need to convert mesh for, right? So this basically, you should be able, if you follow these steps, you should be able to use the Wrap3 properly, right? So I'll end the tutorial here. Hey, thank you very much for watching. Hope you can make use of this. See you. Bye bye.